Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping before today's episode. First, the kitchen. Alex and I did have a bit of a name change. Apparently, Quirds was already taken by another YouTube channel, so we decided to go with Queer Nerd Nation instead. QNN for short. It's nice. It rolls off the tongue, and we can make a lot of, CNN jokes. So, yay for that. Now, the dining room. Alex got his microphone, so this is going to be the last episode where he sounds like he's yelling from across the room. So that's nice. Yay for that. Now, the living room. We talked about different segments and things we wanted to do with these episodes, these podcast episodes. And we came up with a couple fun ones, I think, that we'll probably most definitely expand upon as time goes on. So that's going to start with next episode, Series 6, Part 2. So look forward to that. And then lastly, the bedroom. This is a really small house. We don't have a bathroom yet. Alex and I ordered a capture card, so we're going to start doing playthroughs and Let's Plays once that comes in. So we've invested in a camera as well, so you'll be able to see our lovely, beautiful faces. And the first game we're thinking about playing is The Last of Us, to prepare for Last of Us Part 2. So be excited about that. We're going to start it within the next coming weeks, so please be patient. But thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the last episode of Alex sounding like he's in a different room than the TARDIS. Yeah, thanks, guys. Boom 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 boom. This is me doing the Doctor Who theme song.
Hello. We didn't agree upon that one, but I like it. It was creative.
Yeah, I was feeling spontaneous, like a little spritz to start us off with, Hello, everyone.
We're going to say hello together.
Oh, that's true. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello. See, look at us being so coordinated and synchronized. It's amazing. I love it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this little show that we do. Oh, okay. Well, we've got a little wine. Alex is being a little frisky with his, but that's, it's fine.
Mind your business.
But yeah, hi. Thank you for coming back to this little pod show cast thing that we do.
You're going to need to edit this a lot, bitch.
But no, thank you for listening and watching and coming back to what we're doing, which we don't know 100% what it is yet, but it's fun. It's great. What are we talking about this episode, Alex?
Doctor Who, the first half of season 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we just ended with
a Good Man Goes to War, my favorite episode of the season.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Like the hype was worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I really feel like this season is when Steven is becoming more comfortable in his nature as a showrunner, and is like, all right, I'm gonna start shaking some shit up. I'm gonna do some new things, and he's becoming more comfort. I feel like he's becoming more comfortable in the storylines that he wants to tell.
Yeah. With
River and the Doctor and Amy's relationship, and exploring what that does to Amy, and the things that the people who are closest to the Doctor have to deal with by getting close to him.
You see a lot of that in this season, and I kind of like that. You see a lot of the innocence from the companions in the last seasons, and with Rory and Amy as the companions, you really see how badly the Doctor can treat his companions without even thinking about it.
Right.
He's purposely trying to be a dick.
Yeah, it's just because of their proximity to him. And I think the Doctor's just general nature of being kind of standoffish, and not
chaotic.
Right, yeah. Little chaotic, and also not being 100% forthcoming with his companions. You see the real repercussions of that in this season. And something that I really like in this season, that the season starts to explore, is the repercussions of the Doctor being the Doctor for as long as he has been.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, I've heard criticism from people saying oh, this season sort of they felt like it made the Doctor too big, if that makes sense, or it made the Doctor too much of a heroic figure, if that makes sense. I don't know if like
like
I feel like a lot of people were they felt like this made the Doctor more of a superhero instead of just a man who is traveling and helps people out. But the thing that I think this season really does is not turn the Doctor into a superhero. I still think the Doctor is and wants to be that man who just, pops in and helps out. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of the times when he pops in and helps out, he makes a lot of enemies as well. People get killed, people, like civilizations could get destroyed and things like that, I feel like it is more of a repercussion or a repercussion of the things that he has already done. A reflection, yeah. So that I think that's why I like this season so much, because it is apparent. It is like, hey, what if all the people that I feel like this is just indicative of Matt Smith's tenure in general, is that what happens when the people who the Doctor have defeated say we have had enough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about later, because I feel like a lot of this conversation will come with like the last episode.
Yeah.
But like I have my own feelings about like that topic of like, is he this big villain or a big superhero?
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get into it, 'cause I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. But yeah, no, and I think this season, in my opinion, the quality of the season really starts with the Christmas special that we watched, Christmas Carol, because that was really like, I remember watching season 5 and liking season 5 when it came out, but Matt really wasn't solidified to me or in my mind as the Doctor until this Christmas special. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it was like the time, quote unquote, that I needed to get over my first regeneration or whatever. But like seeing him sort of have this sort of like whimsy and beautiful and mystical and like sort of beautiful side, but doing it while also trying to save a bunch of other people, and then having a tone of darkness in that whole sort of situation. Where he's like, I don't care how my actions affects your timeline as long as I get to save my friends. Like, that's all I'm really caring about. And I also just think it's a great episode in general with, like, Michael Gambon doing his whole Scrooge thing. But then also taking a classic Christmas story and putting a sci-fi spin on it. I thought that was really, really cool.
I think that episode is really what solidified it for me to be that this was okay. This is no longer going in that space opera direction where it's like it's no longer going to be dramatic. It's going to be about these like fantastical things that happen, and that's one thing that I really enjoy about Matt Smith's era so far is how much they focus on like the wibbly wobbly of like, the time of how like oh this happened, so we got to go back and like make sure that happened for us to come to this point because otherwise and I really enjoyed A Christmas Carol because like they had like an hour to like safely get like that ship and like the main story's timeline and an hour to get the ship down out of the cloud safely, but like he visited over years and years and years, and I really enjoyed like that kind of like it kind of messed with your mind a little bit. Like, okay, he has an hour, but like he's been doing this for years with it. Like every Christmas he comes back. Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. It was really cool.
And it is I also like Stephen Moffat's era in general, because I feel like he explores more the idea that were sort of throwaways when it came to David Tennant's era, where it was like, okay, well, the Master was brought back. Why can't you just go back to before the Master was brought back and stop him from being brought back? And then he says something like flippantly about like, oh, I have to make sure that I stay within the causal nexus or whatever like that. And it's a throwaway line that is meant to be like I don't get that, but it supposed to make sense or whatever. Whereas I think like Steven shows that more, where it's just like, okay, he can't just, with the Christmas Carol specifically, he can't just like go to Kazran's past, interact with him, and then go straight back to the second that he left him being like, okay, let's save my friends, Like, there are moments where he does go back to when Kazran's remembering, like, that are, how do I explain it? It is hard to explain, but like, that version of Kazran, like Michael Gambon's version, his time is still going, going parallel to when the Doctor's going back and the ship falling and all of that stuff. But the Doctor goes back to certain moments that are just like, oh, yes, okay, you said that, I needed that, let's go, and like stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of like time is still passing even though he is time traveling.
Yes.
I guess that was a very long-winded way of explaining that. But yeah, no, I love that episode. And I really think that the Christmas specials in general are improved in this era, because I liked the Christmas specials of the Russell T Davies era, but there's really,
to me, it felt like they were setting up for like a part of something bigger. And
yeah,
this Matt Smith's with the Christmas Carol, it felt like it was its own little tale.
Yeah,
and like nothing set up. And
yeah,
I think that's what was missing from before.
Yeah.
In my mind.
No, I hear what you're saying. And that makes sense. Yeah. And I also like how just Christmassy they feel. It's not like this is a story that's taking place during Christmas. It's like, no, this like encapsulates the spirit of Christmas, which I love. But yeah, I mean, that's my favorite. It's definitely my favorite Christmas special of the Matt Smith era, and I think my second favorite Christmas special overall. But then, like, let's start getting into the series proper. And the Doctor dies.
Yeah, astronaut.
Yeah.
Which that's one of the talking points that I wanted to bring up. Was I don't know if this is answered or not. You know, by the end of this season or by the end of any future seasons with Matt Smith's Doctor. But like, is that set, or did the Doctor showed them that for a specific reason,
right?
And they wouldn't just show them that because like I'm dying, so I want you all to be there and watch me die.
Right.
I don't think I think he's a dick because like he's a doctor.
Yeah.
But like I don't think he's gonna make them show up for no reason.
Right.
Especially
because
River Song was there. You know, he had that random guy. I can't even remember his
Canton.
name. He had Canton there. And it's just my question for the future is like. Is that actually his death, or is that like a possible death?
Like,
and he's showing them that because this is still a possible reason.
Like it's not
like,
fixed.
If you discover who the impossible astronaut is,
right?
You're good.
You're good. Then yeah. I understand what you're saying, and it was I'm trying to like say. What I will say is that yes, you do figure out like whether it's his actual death, whether it's a possible death, like if it's a fixed point in time or not, all that stuff. Obviously, who the astronaut is and everything. But a thing that I also really like is that there are still a lot of questions that are not even answered until Matt Smith regenerates. Like his like last episode, you get a lot of answers to be like, okay, that's who that was, that's what that was, and all that stuff, and it's really, really cool. But no, and I love that episode. I think I just really enjoy Series 6 in general because honestly, in my opinion, if that is not the best season opener, in my opinion, it is the second best. Just because I feel like it takes you on such a great emotional roller coaster. Because it's like, I remember watching it with all of my friends and we were just like, oh my god, like, yay, great, the Doctor's back with Amy and Rory and like this is so exciting and River's here, whatever. And then like 15 minutes into the episode, the Doctor's killed. And there was like really no... It was funny because me and my friends were watching it thinking it like, is this just when Matt regenerates? Like, we just got him. Like, what? And then he starts to regenerate and then is killed. And we were all just like, what happened? Like, what is going to happen for the rest of the season? Is this going to be a season without the Doctor? Are they going to be trying to figure out how to bring the Doctor back, et cetera, et cetera? And then the Doctor walks back in once they're back in the diner, and you had the exact same reaction that I had, which was slap him.
Yeah, slap him, because he just made you all watch his death. Right. And then you realize, oh, okay, this is
from the past.
100 years earlier.
Right.
Right, 100?
I think it's 200. Yeah, because it says he's 1103.
And he's 900.
He's 908, I think he said. 909.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and because we all thought it was just like, oh yeah, I did that to like screw with you and to get somebody off our chest or off our back, and I just wasn't going to tell you about it. And I was just like, yeah, no, slap him. And then River does slap him, and it's incredibly satisfying.
And then he admits to not knowing what is going on at all. And
right.
Like, oh shit.
And I think that's a great way to set up the entire run of the season, because it's just like there are so many questions in that one episode. It's like, okay, who's the person in the astronaut suit? Why do they want to kill the doctor? Who wants to kill the doctor? Like, why did the doctor, like you've been asking, why did the doctor tell them to come to the funeral and try and figure all these different things out? Yeah, and then I mean, just yeah, I think it is a really really great and intelligent way to start setting up a bunch of different plot lines and plot threads that happen throughout the season. And then like they go back to Earth 1969, America specifically, which was a weird thing. Well, no, I'm only saying it was weird like then because it was really, at least while I was a fan, it was Doctor Who's first time like really going to and taking part in America, because we got the New York episode in season 3, but like with this one they actually like made a big deal about it. Like they went to, I think they filmed in Utah. They filmed, I think, maybe a couple scenes in Washington, D.C. And then there was, like, a bunch of marketing before the season came out about, like, oh, they're going to America. Like, we're actually shooting in America. This is exciting and all this stuff. And that was also around the time when, like, Doctor Who first really, like, exploded in America. And it was a cool moment in history to watch. But this is also when we get introduced to, like, a modern-day classic villain with The Silence.
Ooh, I didn't think they could come up with some creepier villains, but
yeah.
Like, those were some creepy villains.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit! Now I'm looking around in the corner of my eye every chance I get.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't remember if you did see them.
Stop it! Exactly. Stop it.
But I love the way that they crafted the Silence, but then also crafted the story around them, and being like, why at this point in time just randomly did the human race decide to go to the moon?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, because they were these not benevolent, that's not the word, but they were these malevolent creatures that have been apparently forcing the hand of the human race since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, we need a spacesuit, so y'all want to go to space. And then they started going to space, which I think is a really cool plot device. And I just think they're really cool monsters in general, because it's like, okay, how do you get scarier than, let's say, the Weeping Angels, where you can't even blink, like, you can't look away from them. It's like, okay, let's create a monster where you can, but if you do, you'll forget them, and they will probably kill you if they think that you know too much. Like, sorry about it. And the fact that they look like Slendermen is also really creepy with the suits and everything like that.
They're like Secret Service, but like evil Secret Service.
Right.
Everything.
Right. But I also think like it's a cool explanation for Slenderman as well, where it's just like, oh yeah, like there's this creepy tall man in a suit that quote unquote steals children or whatever, but it's actually probably just somebody remembering the Silence or having remnants of thoughts of the Silence or something like that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a really cool tie-in. That wasn't explained in the show, but it's something that you could like sort of
think of for yourself.
Yeah. Is there anything about that episode that you want to talk about specifically, or?
No, because like the questions that I had from those episodes were answered by like the season.
The mid-season finale.
I mean, like aside from the Doctor's death,
right?
The actual death. But like, my main question was like, who's the girl?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh wait a second.
It's Melody.
So a Melody. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Another thing for Melody is
song. We'll get to that.
Yes, we will. But yeah, no, it was. I enjoyed that two-parter, Impossible Astronaut and The Silence, because like it set up for like the whole season, like you said, and it introduced really terrifying new enemies that the Doctor has to face.
Yeah. I like that this episode gives you small tidbits to the big questions, or small answers to the big questions that you have. So like there is a picture in the little girl's room in the orphanage, where it's a picture, like it's a bunch of pictures of her, whatever, but then there's a picture of Amy holding a baby, you know, and rewatching it, you know, that's an obvious giveaway. It's like, oh, that's Amy's daughter, like obviously, like that's just.
And I thought that too.
Right.
I really had that written down. Like,
right.
Oh, that was Amy's daughter.
Yeah.
Like, who's it with?
Right.
Was my main question.
Right. And it's like there are all these other questions where it's like, okay, but like Amy's supposedly not pregnant, or no, she because at that point she told the doctor that she was pregnant. But then, like you said, yeah, like who with, like when did she give birth, when is she going to give birth, and all these different things. And yeah, and then like at the end of the episode, it's like, okay, she's not pregnant, so like where did that picture come from? But then that also sets up the mystery of like, is Amy pregnant or is she not? Because the doctor scans her with the TARDIS, and then it's like, oh, she's pregnant, but she's not. But she's pregnant, but she's not. But she's pregnant, but she's not. And all these different things. And it's just like, okay, what the hell is going on with that? And I also like how this season sort of turns the doctor companion relationship on its head, because you have the doctor hiding something from his companion, which happens all the time. That's not like a big thing. But then you also have the companions hiding something from the doctor now. And I think that's an interesting take on the relationship, and the general or usual relationship of how doctor companion relationships really go. And I don't know, I feel like this is probably the season that really made me understand how much Rory and Amy care for the doctor, but also how much the doctor cares for Amy and Rory. I just love them, and I love their relationship anyway. But yeah, and also with this episode you also get more tidbits about Amy and Rory's relationship, and I like the sort of subverty dialogue that has been written for Amy in when Amy gets captured, and Rory still has the little recorder device, and Rory's listening to her and is like, hey, I'm gonna come for you, whatever. And the doctor's like, well, she can't hear you. And Rory's like, she can always hear me, like, and she always knows I'm coming for her. And then she starts asking, like, doctor, please get me out of this, or whatever. And then later down the line, you have her also saying, like, I know you think it should be him, but it's not. It's you. Like, you fell out of the sky, and my life was so boring before that, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like, naturally, like, anybody, Rory thinks, like, it's the doctor, you know? Like,
it was so naturally, like, those lines were so well-timed and well-phrased.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, she's talking about the doctor.
Right. And then at the end when she's like, get your stupid face out of here, and he's just like, oh, you're talking about me.
That was a really sweet moment.
Yeah. And I might have said this in the previous episode, but I think Amy and Rory's relationship is really realistic. Because I feel like it is just natural and probably more commonplace than people talk about to have that sort of partner where it's like, obviously I feel like I love you more than you love me, you know, and that just them sort of make that assumption, but then the other person thinks like, well, they obviously know how much I love them, like that's a given, and this really solidifies that, where Amy's just like, of course I was talking about you, how could you ever think that I wasn't ever talking about you, like falling out of the sky is a figure of speech. Like I love you. And I love that just the small like little jokes that continue throughout the season. Like even with when they're at Demon's Run and A Good Man Goes to War, there are multiple times where like it's in the beginning of the episode, Amy's telling Melody about her father and is like, oh, like he's lived for hundreds of years, but he looks young. He's the last of his kind, and he's your father. And then I saw your face, and I like you had the same reaction that I did. It was just like, what do you mean he's her father? No, Rory's her father.
Yeah, and thinking back, you're like, oh wait, no, he was there for 2,000 years.
Exactly.
You completely forgot. Like, I don't know what it was about I love how they deliver these little lines, because you're not even thinking about like the whole picture.
Right.
You're just thinking like what everyone else is thinking. And it's
right.
like, oh shit, the doctor.
Right.
Oh my God, the doctor's the only one that's lived for 100 years.
Right.
Like, oh wait, no, wait. The Centurions live longer.
Right.
Technically speaking, Rory is his senior
at
this point.
Yeah. And it's I love it because it is the person, whenever somebody in the show uses that type of language, you know, of course you're automatically going to go to the doctor. The show is about the doctor. We've been with the doctor so much longer than we've been with Amy and Rory. We've heard how he's lived for thousands of years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How he is actually really old, but he looks so young, and all these things. So it's, of course, your brain will naturally just go to the doctor. But then she's like, but our people know him as the last Centurion, and you're just like,
Okay, I wasn't ready to cry.
It's fine. But then there's a moment that you might have missed, where
probably.
but there's a moment where Amy and Rory like still asking what's going on. It's after they have Melody back, and the doctor like has brought out the cot and everything, and they're like, and they have asked the doctor whose cot it was, and then Amy and Rory are just like, tell us something, like she's our baby, please just tell us something about the situation, about her, whatever, and then the doctor just goes, it's mine, and then Rory gives him a look and is like, what is? And then the doctor goes, the cot. It's my cot. I slept in there. But no, there's a small scene afterward where Rory like gives a sigh of relief. Did you see it?
No.
Oh yeah, no. Like Rory like lets out this huge sigh of relief after Amy's like, oh my god, the doctor's first stars. He's just back there like, and it's just small moments like that I think are really, really funny, because I think it's poking a little bit of fun at the people that like. Again, no offense to the Rose and Doctor shippers, but the people that like still wanted that sort of relationship again, of a Doctor companion relationship, and we're probably still holding out hope that Amy'd be like, nope, I actually love the Doctor, not you, Rory. I think it was just poking a little bit of fun at them. But I mean, yeah, like, is there anything that you really want to bring up?
Are we talking about the last episode?
I mean, not just the last episode in general, just about the season, really.
I mean, no. Because like a lot of like my talking points, I feel like I come up with are about questions, and when those questions get answered by the show, it's like, okay, cool. Those, then it's like my talking points are done. But like I think something that I've enjoyed about this season is the exploration of the relationship between River Song and the Doctor. I think that's It's just every time they meet, the actors do such a good job of making it seem like, oh, they like know each other, and they like always known each other, and things like that. And but in reality, it's like, okay, the Doctor's known you for as long as we've known River Song. Right. But River Song comes in at different points in the Doctor's timeline, and it's like, okay. And the thing that I always think about, like the first thing I think about when River's there and everything like that, is like, the Doctor watched you die. Yeah. And now he has to make friends with you because you two have a greater future together. And I can't think of a more sadder tale of like, someone like, he knows how you're gonna die. And I think the Doctor he's still at that sort of point in his timeline, or at least he feels that sort of point in his timeline where he's like, okay, like, I'm in the middle of figuring out who she is, or like learning about her and things like that. Therefore, like, I'm okay with getting close to her now. Like, I've still got so many days with her, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it is. This isn't really a spoiler, but it is something that gets lightly explored later down the line of like, okay, he recognizes that he's coming to the end of like their time together and stuff like that, and seeing how that sort of plays out is really interesting and beautiful. But yeah, speaking of their relationship, like, how, other than just like who she is to him and stuff like that, what do you think about their relationship? How do you think, like, I guess my question more so is like, do you think that, it's sort of situation where River's in love with the Doctor, but the Doctor just sort of likes her? Or do you think that they love each other? Do you think that the Doctor thinks River's in love with him, but River's just like, I just like having you around? Like, that one. I think the Doctor loves his mysteries and things that he doesn't know. So like, I think he loves her in that respect, and I think it's almost the opposite of the first dichotomy that you suggested. I think that's not the right word. I think the Doctor really loves her. Genuinely in love with her, fell in love with her, like, the moment that he met her before her death, but then also sees her birth, and like, sees her as a small child, right. And I think he loves her, and I think she knows that, and she uses that to her advantage, not in like in a malicious way, not in a malicious way, but she's like, I got you wrapped around my finger. I've got a Time Lord wrapped around my finger, so I'm going to use it to however possible way I can. Right. Whether it's pick me off of a dying ship because I just decided to eject myself from it. Yeah. Or because of a library that kills you. And it's just, I love their relationship because she, like, for the first time, you see the Doctor on his toes with the person. With someone that's not another Time Lord or not another big villain.
Yeah.
You know, you see him, like, be wary of everything that's going on with this person. And, you know, you see it in the little moments where she's like, oh, and he's listening, kind of thing. And he's like, what?
No, I'm not. What?
Screwdriver thing.
Yeah, I'm doing this.
It's like, okay, see, this is a high school crush.
Yeah.
It's like he's studying her from afar, and it's like more about her because, like, gorgeous. Oh my goodness. And who wouldn't want to be in a relationship with River freaking Song?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That is an interesting take. I'm trying to, like, remember what I thought at this point. I thought that it was a situation where she loved him, but he just sort of liked her. And he was like, he loved having her around. He liked her presence. Like, I think maybe even I think at this point, I thought that it was a situation where he gave her what she wanted. And not in a malicious way or a manipulative way. I thought it was a really situation where he knew that she was in love with him. And he was like, I like her, like, in a way that is a little bit more on the romantic side. So I am willing to go along with this, but I didn't think it was quite love. But I think that is an interesting read of their relationship, what you said, because I honestly hadn't ever really considered that. And I think that I didn't consider that because I was like, well, he's the Doctor. He just doesn't go around falling in love with people. You know what I mean? Like, that just isn't.
Which is why I think with this case that he is.
Right, no,
she is such an enigma to him.
Exactly.
And, like, if anything, he's not in love with her, but he's very much infatuated with her. Because, like, she's a mystery, which he loves mysteries.
Right.
There's no explanation for her until until the mid-season finale.
Yeah.
He realizes who she is, and he's just like, but we did. And she's like,
yeah.
And he was so. He was also, like, he was just kind of elated by that fact, like,
yeah.
What? And we were thinking, oh my goodness, okay, I'm gonna go off and figure out how to save you then. Yeah. I'm gonna fall in love with you.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think that's why I like that read of the relationship so much, because it's like River is the type of person that he would fall in love with, you know what I mean? And I think it makes perfect sense if he did fall in love with her. I love that and them. But I mean, let's talk about really start getting into the big things that happen in this first half of the season. Like, I feel like there were a couple cool episodes. Not really a couple. There was only one, because it goes Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, then the Curse of the Black Spot, which I thought was like a cool, fun episode.
Yeah, cool, fun episode.
Yeah.
Definitely a filler episode.
Yeah.
Every season needs it.
Yeah, but I like the whole pirate aesthetic and everything like that.
And a ship within a ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
That was really
and
cool.
What the siren actually was.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that episode. So like we said, it's a nice, fun episode. But then we get back into heavy story beats that didn't 100% register as heavy story beats when you first see them with the Flash, like the Almost people and the Rebel Flash or whatever it's called, which is another 2 episodes that I really enjoy. But I really like. I mean, I like the premise itself, but once you figure out why the Doctor went there, why he was studying the Flesh, and all of that at the end.
That was a big plot twist.
It was
like,
oh my god, I lost my mind. There's so many big plot twists in the first half of the season alone.
Yeah.
You have the Doctor dying. You've got the little girl. You've got Melody regenerating. You've got the Amy turning out to be a Flesh avatar, and then you've got River being revealed to be Amy and Rory's kid. And that's just in the first 6 episodes.
What is in store for us now?
But no, I really, really like that twist, and it is so well set up throughout the episode, throughout the 2 episodes, because you're sort of sitting there wondering, why is the Doctor behaving this way with Amy? Why is he so adamant to make her believe or make her understand that, the Flesh Doctor is just as much as the Doctor as the Doctor? And then also sort of get them to understand. I also think it's retroactively a thing to get Amy to understand how and why the doctor didn't come save her sooner, and Rory as well, where it's just sort of like, this was such a convincing thing where it's like, I needed to be 100% sure.
I didn't think of it
it's like
he literally went through that to show Amy that when I'm actually coming to save the actual you, this is why I didn't sue.
Right, exactly.
I thought it was you.
Right, it's like, I thought it was you, like, I didn't know 100% how right I was. I didn't know if they were listening in. Like, I didn't know. I needed to have all the cards in a row before I knock them over. Yeah. And I think that is such a great way to write and have that story. Yeah. And also it's just a fantastic episode in general.
Period.
Yeah, and then it sort of sets us up. I mean, the end of that episode where it's just sort of like, he's been telling Amy to breathe the entire episode, and she's just like, why do you keep saying that?
Yeah,
and
I
then
didn't get that at all.
Yeah.
The end, I was like,
and then he's like, breathe, and she breathes and she keels over, and he's like, she's having contractions, and it's just like, what do you mean she's having contractions?
She's skinny as a doornail.
Right.
Skinny as a nail.
So you think she's skinny? But yeah, it's like, what do you mean she's having contractions? If she is pregnant, she's obviously not about to give birth.
Yeah.
And then it's like he sonics her, and then she just dissolves, which is such a good plot twist. And then she wakes up, and he's like, oh, all right, you're ready to pop. Like, go ahead, start pushing. And then she's just like, can you imagine that?
Oh my God.
Like,
girl.
Like, waking up, I mean, pregnancy is like something beautiful but also crazy by itself, just imagining that, like, bound down to everybody with a uterus and who wants to have kids, but like, imagine believing really for your entire life that, like, okay, I'm not pregnant, like, it's fine, like, if I ever did think I was pregnant, like, it was early stages, so I had time to mentally prepare for it, but I was wrong, I'm not pregnant, so, like, we're good now. And then, like, being told by your best friend, hey, you're not actually here. We don't know where you are, but we're going to find you. And then waking up wherever you actually are, completely alone, essentially, and then giving birth right after that. Like, bro.
Nope.
Like, Amy has gone through so much already.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's such a great moment and a phenomenal cliffhanger for the next episode, which, again, A Good Man Goes to War is honestly one of my favorite episodes of Doctor Who in general, because it is really when it's a moment that the Doctor sort of lets loose, and just sort of like shows what he can do, where he's just like, he says to the main dude, Colonel Manton, he's like, yeah, it took me 3 minutes and 42 seconds to completely wipe out your base and, like, completely just leave it in shambles. And that was, like, I think that's just such a cool thing. And I love seeing Matt's Doctor specifically be dark, because it's really a moment where you can tell, oh, his, like, bumbling personality, his awkwardness, his childlike nature, whatever, that's all to mask the fact that he is angry. And he has all this anger that has been building up and sat inside of him since the Time War. And it's like, he can still be the Time Lord victorious if he wants to be. And I think that was a really, really cool moment. But the moment that I really like is the moment where Madame Kavarian's like, like, the anger of a good man is nothing to be afraid of. Like, good men have too many rules. And the Doctor says to her, good men don't need rules. Today's not the day to find out why I have so many. And I think that gives a really great context to the name of the episode, A Good Man Goes to War. Because the good man going to war is the Doctor. It's Rory. And I love that so, so much. Because Rory doesn't really do that much violent. He's just there like, I'm trying to find my wife and save my wife and my baby.
But that episode, you see how much him and the Doctor are aligned in their anger. They're like, no. See, you did the one thing you shouldn't have done. Yeah. And that was, you took Amy, and you took Amy, who is apparently now pregnant.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
we're no longer going to be good guys. We're no longer going to listen to our rules. We're going to get every single person that we possibly can.
Yeah.
And we're going to just kill you.
Yeah, yeah.
Plain and simple, because you know why? We can.
Yeah. Oh, that moment where he's just like, he goes to the Cybermen and he's like, I have a message from the doctor and a question from me. Where is my wife? And then they're like, what's the doctor's message? And then the entire Cyber Legion starts exploding and he just goes, do you want me to repeat the question? And it's just like, Rory Williams?
Rory,
spread my legs. Right, like, ooh, he just getting a little hot in here. No, but I love that moment in general. And the only thing that I hate, quote unquote, about this episode is the fact that John Barrowman was too busy to come back for it.
Yeah, that would have been really cool.
That would have been a great moment to have Jack be there along with them and fighting alongside them. That would have been really cool. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think the episode in general is really, really great. And you sort of get a little tidbit about who Madame Clavarian is. And why they're all doing these things, because it's just like, okay, who are you? She's a woman that is leading an army against a war against the Doctor. Okay, but why are they going to war with the Doctor? You know? And it's something that you can, like, deduce, but it's not 100% answered in this episode, like, why they are going to war with the Doctor.
Which, like, that therein lies what my biggest gripe with, which is good, because it's not a big gripe, but, like, it's my biggest gripe with, like, the Doctor's, like, you know, big climactic episodes where it's like, I just, it annoys me that all these villains came together, right, at like this mid-season finale, and like to you know, have their revenge on him, like, you know, because we're scared of you, because you're not a doctor, you're like, you know, you're this great warrior.
Become
and it's
a
like,
warrior.
Girl, the Doctor's only ever fought because he was forced to.
Right.
The only time you have ever seen him use his name and gusto to tell them to back off is when they have him cornered.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I don't like, but also at the same time, I think that's why they do it, because it's like, there's no logical reason to go for the Doctor. There's no reason except for evil and malevolent reasons to go for the Doctor. It just kind of annoys me that, like, their reason for going for the Doctor is like, oh, you beat us before. And it's like, yeah, and he'll do it again. But, like, that's not the point. You all came for him first.
Yeah.
You all started fighting him first. You all came for Earth first. You all came for Amy first.
Yeah.
And now you're expecting him to just back down?
Yeah.
Like, you're preparing to go to war for him. Like, for what? You took Amy first. What do you mean you're going to war against him? You caused him to be angry. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Is there going to be more going into, like...
There is more into why they are going to war with him.
Which I'm excited to see. Yeah. But, like, if it, like... That's just, like, my biggest,
no, I
like,
understand,
like, that's the biggest thing that's making me upset right now. Is, like, okay, you're going out... Like, great, you're going after him because, like, you know that he can beat you. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. That doesn't... What? That's not a good enough reason to go after somebody. Oh, you beat me before, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to destroy you.
It's like
maybe just go after somebody else.
Right.
Maybe just not fuck with him anymore.
And I wonder what would have happened if they did just try to go after the Doctor. Because the reason the Doctor... Oh, I also love the Colonel Runaway speech. Because, like, the reason the Doctor does all of this is because he's like, no, you went after my friends. Like, that is why I want you to be called Colonel Runaway. You never get to me through the people that I love. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can see how that could be and why that is a gripe. Because at this point, it's not really explained 100%, other than the fact that it's like, oh, you've beaten us, like, or you've beaten people, and you're becoming a warrior. I do like that tidbit that River sort of gives him, and that Lorna, the girl from the forest, the Gamma Forest, yeah.
They don't have a word for doctor,
right? Or their word for doctor. What doctor means to them is warrior.
Yeah.
And I think that both the idea that the universe gets the word doctor from the Doctor himself, I think that makes a lot of sense, but I also think it makes sense where it's like, okay, if you continue, even if you're just talking about, like, Tennant and Smith, the reason the people of the Gamma Forest, their word for warrior is doctor, is because, like, at least after the Time War, you've been you've become a warrior. Like you're still in that Time War mindset.
Which I'm excited to see more of, because like from my perspective as like a newcomer to this, is like he's just doing his thing. Like and he just happens to be there where all this shit goes down, and he's like, you know what, not today. And I appreciate that he is a warrior in that sense, but also at the same time, I guess just because we see him so much and we know him from our perspective, the audience perspective, like he's not a warrior. He's just there half the time. Yeah. But like I can see how other people who are on the
from the
outside, that are like, okay, he's destroying all of our forces. And
but even from the outside, I feel like if there was someone, say there was like a superhero, right? And as far as you know, all the superhero does is that he goes to cities and he goes to different towns or whatever, and the towns blow up, you know?
That's all you hear
That's
about it.
all you really hear or understand, you know? You don't get the context of, hey, he went to that town to save it, and then all the people in that town were torturing people, were killing people, were et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the only way he could get them to stop was if they did either blow up or, you know, I don't know, like all these different things. Like from our point of view and from what we see, the Doctor's last resort is like, okay, I've got to find a way to stop this, and the only way I can stop this is blowing it up. And I'm going to try and save who I can, but if I can't save anyone, I'm going to save the universe versus this pocket of people, you know? But I mean, I think it is a interesting take on the Doctor where it's like, hey, you have been helping people, but you have been reckless, and you if you continue to be reckless and continue to leave this path of carnage in your wake, then this is what the Doctor is going to become. Like, this is what the word Doctor is going to come to mean, is a warrior.
Yeah.
But I mean, from that we get this sort of standoff against the Doctor and River, where it's just like she does tell him, hey, you could have handled this differently. Like, you did not have to. You could have just come in, save Amy, and then like leave. You know, like come in, save Amy, get the baby, and then go away. That's what you could have done, but you chose not to. You chose to humiliate them. You chose to completely destroy their base, and because of that, you lost Melody. And I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, you won, but you lost. And it gives so much more context to River always telling the Doctor, stop being emotional. Like, you need to stop being emotional right now. Because when you get emotional, this is what happens. Yes, you win, but at what cost? And I really, really like that whole sort of trade-off that they have. But then from then we get the Doctor asking her straight up, who are you? And she's just like, oh, look, there's your card. Like, wow, I haven't seen that in a while. And he's like, no. Stop distracting. Like, stop blowing the question off. Tell me who you are. And then he does tell her in a way that he figures it out, but the audience doesn't. And I love that because it's a good moment of you sitting there like,
who the fuck?
What?
Are you going to actually tell me?
Right.
Like, I literally had the thought, I was like, no, you got it. You need to tell me.
You need to tell me
who she is.
Right. And I love it because it's also a moment where you're sitting there and you're like, is it me? Am I the only one that's not getting it? Like, am I being stupid right now? Like, why do you seem happy and excited and stuff like that? But then, like, you know, you see that Amy and Rory are also confused and are like, what's going on? Like, I don't get it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Doctor goes off saying, like, hey, I know where to find your daughter. She's going to be safe. Like, that, I'm promising you that she's going to be safe. And then he goes off. And then Amy asks River, who is she? And then she says a line, or she gives her the little... The leaf thing that Lorna gave Amy earlier on in the episode with the name of her daughter. And then Amy's like, I know my daughter's name. And then River says something, such a great line that is in the Doctor's Wife. That was another episode that we had this season. But it's a line that's said in the Doctor's Wife that is, you could think is as a throwaway line, but you're just like, okay, maybe that'll come down later down the line. And she says there's no word for pond because the only water in the forest is the river.
I remember that.
I love that line. And she's like, oh, well, like, your daughter will be safe, and I know that personally because it's me. Like, I'm Melody, I'm your daughter. And I love that scene so much, and I screamed and then laughed so hard because when I think it was right after Series 5 came out, I was rewatching Series 4, and it was like, I was 90% joking, but I was like, oh, her hair is kind of reddish, but like, I think it was either her eyes or her hair was like, I think it was her eyes, yeah, where I was just like, oh, but her eyes are kind of like Rory's. Wouldn't it be wild if she was Rory and Amy's kid? That's so funny. Like, what? That's never gonna happen. And then it happened. And I lost my mind. Well, yeah, like, what was... I saw your reaction, but, like, what was going on in your head?
Shock. Mm-hmm. I was just, like, a general shock at first. I was like, holy shit. And then I, like, it's like all, like, the little details of everything in the past. Like, just like, ping, 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 ping. Oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because I was like, all right, I know that this is Amy's daughter.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how Amy's daughter could have energy, could have regenerative abilities.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so Amy and the doctor.
Right.
But the doctor doesn't do that.
Right.
And Amy's not into the doctor.
Right.
And then they're like, yeah, I'm your daughter to Amy and Rory. And then there was some explanation, I think, earlier in the episode with the lizard lady.
Yeah, Madame Vastra.
With her and the doctor talking about like how like the possibilities of creating and how the Time Lords were created with looking into the schism.
Yeah.
And you know what? If a baby, 9 months of pregnancy, they can, go through all that temporal radiation, all that activity. Yeah. They're going to be coming out with some temporal abilities.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
I was both shocked, but also at the same time, like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a phenomenal reveal. And the thing that I like about it is that it tells us more about who River is, but not who she is to the doctor specifically. Yes. And I like that a lot. Because you're sitting there and you're like, okay, cool. I have this big revelation about River. It's really, really satisfying. But wait, I still have more questions. You know what I mean? And all of these different things and ideas. It's great. I love that reveal. And I just love River, and like I just it makes so many other moments in the past funny, because there's that moment in season 5, like at the end, where she's just like, oh, like Amy's, like when the doctor saves her from the TARDIS exploding, and she comes back and she's at the museum with Amy, Rory, and the doctor. And she goes like, oh, Amy, and the plastic centurion. And it's like, of course she knows who Rory is. Like, that's her dad. But I like the moments where it's just like, oh, because Rory doesn't know who River is, then River has to pretend like she doesn't know who Rory is, and all these other different things that I think are really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, that's that sort of half of the season, and that really banger of a mid-season finale that it's a great way to cut it off, you know what I mean? And you're lucky because we had to wait like 6 months until Doctor Who returned after that.
What?
Yeah. And that was the first time that they did that, where they did they did the season in 2 parts.
I lost my goddamn mind.
Yeah, it was I remember so vivid. I was in my mom's office when it came back, and I remember watching it, being so excited. It was, anyway. But yeah, that was a very, very, very long wait. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess the only other thing that I really wanted to ask or talk about was like any theories that you might have about like what's gonna happen in the future. We talked a little bit about it, but do you think there might be anything more to the church wanting to kill the Doctor, the army? Church army, wanting to kill the Doctor and stuff like that.
Well, I think they're gonna be I think if not by the end of this season, that's gonna be his big battle is with them, and that's gonna lead back to that big battle is going to lead back into this mid-season finale. Right. That's my theory, at least. It's how they're gonna be big bad at
Right.
the end of this season, or the
Right.
big bad at the end of next season, or maybe even like the mid-season finale for the next season.
Right.
Or I don't even know how long this Doctor lasts. I really don't.
Yeah.
But like I think she's a big bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, you know, he might get Melody back, he might get River Song back, but
Right.
I think it's going to lead to further repercussions in the
Right.
timeline,
Right,
and
right.
ultimately lead back to this, you know, mid-season finale. I want to know more about the church, or like the monks of the headless,
The headless monks. Yeah.
the headless monks. We might not learn more because they seemed like throwaway characters, but like also at the same time, like it'd be cool. Like, okay, why do they hate the Doctor so much as well? Or
Right.
like, whom do they serve? Like,
Right.
obviously, some kind of like intelligence is commanding them. I don't think it's just like, oh, we're a bunch of, you know, mindless drones that think for ourselves, because they're mindless drones for a reason.
Right.
I want to know more about that. I think Miss, whatever her name is, the eye
Madame
patch lady.
Kavarian, yeah.
What is her name?
Madame Kavarian.
Madame Kavarian. I don't give a fuck. She's a bitch. She can die. Whatever. I want to know more about why she hates the Doctor so much specifically, and how she has so much intelligence to see. Like, she seems to know a lot about the Doctor. You know, more than just like a villain who's met them once and lost to them would know.
Right.
So I want to know where she gets her intelligence from, or how she knows about it. But yeah, no. I want to learn more about River Song, period. I want to know what's in her diary, like how her diary became to be a thing. I want to see how it started, and how like she got the idea for it, and things like that. And then, I wanted to learn about when specifically Amy was taken, because like, yes, he mentioned that like they had their wedding night aboard the TARDIS, you know, which is when Melody was conceived, and at some point after that, Amy was taken, but they never said when. At least I don't think.
He says just before America, and that it kind of tracks, because if she was conceived on the TARDIS, if not, it was kind of implied that it was their wedding night, but if you do a little bit of like, what's the word?
Retroactive?
Not retroactive, but like if you think about it and sort of conceive, lack of a better word, conceive or think about when they would have been on the TARDIS and stuff like that. Like the Doctor took them on a bunch of honeymoon adventures and stuff like that. So she had to be conceived on the TARDIS. So it was either their wedding night or their time in between traveling to different honeymoon spots. And then Amy, he says just before America, and then Amy said that it was 2 months since they had seen the Doctor last. So we could assume when she was taken, it was somewhere in between her being like a month, like maybe 4 to 6 weeks pregnant. Yeah, that's that.
Okay.
When she was taken.
And then I think the only other thing that I'm curious about is the Doctor. Apparently, you have this question was raised to me in the Doctor and his wife, or whatever.
The Doctor's wife, yeah.
The Doctor's wife. The Doctor apparently stole the TARDIS.
Yes.
Which
yes.
I want to know more about that. Basically, is all I want to. I want to know more about him stealing it. I don't know if it's a big plot point, or if it's just that's what happened and there you go.
No, it's not. It's something that I mean, it happened in sorry, excuse me. It happened in Classic Who. You don't see it in Classic Who, but it is established in Classic Who that he stole the TARDIS from the Time Lords. But I mean, yeah, no, those are good. Anything about the astronaut that you want to? I know we know or have deduced that it's probably Melody, but I think it still like asks the question like, how did the astronaut get to 2011? Like,
how did she get stranded there? What does she have to do with the who are the villains again? What are
the Silence.
Yeah. Who, like, how does she get involved with the Silence at all, or how did the Silence, did the Silence abduct her and put her there because they knew who she was? I want to know the connection that I just literally just made.
Yeah.
I guess that I'm thinking about is like, River Song says, the reason she's in jail is because she killed a man.
Yeah.
The greatest of men.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it just solidifies the fact that Melody is the impossible astronaut.
Yeah.
You don't see that she's the astronaut at that point in time. Right. So it could be, they could pull a twist and it's someone else. But, like, that...
Maybe she gets framed for it or something like that.
Like,
yeah.
Or maybe because, that's what... Who knows? Maybe that's what the Doctor wanted.
Right.
To throw somebody off the trail, and that's part of the ultimate plan. Yeah. Which, again, that just makes me more excited to see the rest of the season, because I want to see how they tie this into the rest.
Right.
Sorry, I just make the table.
There you go.
But, like, I want to know why she's in that suit, why they needed that suit, because it seemed like they needed that suit either for themselves or for her specifically. So, like, why did they need it for her specifically? Because they knew something about her?
Right.
But, like, I just... It's really... There's so much that I want to know. And it's too much... I don't even know how you all keep up with this goddamn show. Because, like, I have so many questions all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, as soon as I think I've gotten everything answered, you go and say something.
Question.
And I'm just like, I don't know anymore. Thank you, because I have more questions now. Thank you.
I think this is definitely the most timey-wimey and the most, like... wibbly wobbly that the show gets, or that like this era gets, because there are big things that happen afterwards, like so many other big things, but it is less of like okay, we have to put all of these pins together and figure out where they fit, and I think it really is only like that because of River's timeline and because of the very nature of River and her character. I feel like Series 6 is very much River's season. But it is, because it's a season that focuses on her so much, they have to be a little bit more timey-wimey with it, and a little bit more like, have all these different pinpoints and threads that have to end up tying together, no matter how tangled the timeline is. But yeah, I mean, no, this is one of my favorite seasons, and I love it so much. But I mean, yeah, I guess that's our conversation on...
The first half
of season 6, yeah. It's wild, it's mad, like we've said before, it's timey-wimey, but it is a lot of fun, and I love me some River Song. So,
join in and watch in with us, everybody. Yeah, so we can all talk about this together.
That's true. So, watch the back half of season 6 of Doctor Who, and then let us know what you think, and let us know about your thoughts and the theories that you have or had at the time. But thank you for listening. Thank you for, not watching, because, it's a podcast. But...
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that. You said that earlier in the podcast. Like, thank you for listening and watching it. Like, they're watching their mean mug on their blank screen right now.
Hey, listen, you never know. I could animate this one day, and then
Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely.
But no, thank you so much for listening, and
thank you.
Tune in next time when we watch more Doctor Who.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe. Thank you, Mac does it.
Oh my God.
All right, bye.
Bye.